There's the queen right there with the orange. I'm just going to pinch her. Hey everyone, I just killed the queen in one of my hives, and here's why it's actually the right thing to do. So let's suit up and open the hive and see what we have going on. All right, so we're going to open this hive up first and take a look at what we have going on in here. And I got this hive back in April, and it's really been performing not very well. You'll notice the hive on this side has another box. It's a little bit taller, and I forgot my tools, so I need to go around and get them. All right, now that I got my tools back, this is going to be your best friend. We're going to pop this open. I was feeding them sugar water. You notice we have a couple girls on top here as well. We're just going to get them off. But I've been feeding them throughout the year when they typically shouldn't be. And that's because they haven't been growing really to the level that they should at all. They've been very underwhelming, and that's why we're going to go in here. I'm going to show you the brood and why we're going to get rid of the queen, how it's actually going to help the hive. All right, so we're going to pry this up here. Try to be nice and gentle so we don't have to use any smoke on them. Let's take this top box and the inner cover off. See how the ladies are doing. So you'll notice on these outside frames, we have a couple bees on here, but they haven't done a thing. They haven't drawn out the frames at all. And that's true of most all these frames in here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, at least 6 or 7 of these frames. If we go into one in the middle, it's going to have a little bit more activity. Which you can tell that this frame's darker. That's because this was from the original nuke that I got when I got the hive. And I brought it up to the second box to help them grow. They've been very stagnant. So you notice how spotty this is? This should be all brown, capped with brood. And I'm only seeing maybe one here, one here, one here, one here, one here. I mean, it's very spotty. That's not what you're looking for in a hive. That just means that our queen isn't performing well at all. Very spotty. So this hive is very stagnant. It's not growing. We're going to just skip down to the first box. So that's where our queen's going to be, most likely. And I'll show you more of what that looks like down there. Now this box is a little heavy, but they're not really growing as much. And one of the reasons why I want to get rid of the queen in this case is because the top box is what they're going to be growing into second. This is the first box that they started in as soon as I got them. And these outside frames, they should be filled with lots of brood, and they haven't even touched them. Look at that. Very pathetic, very disappointing. And I even went back in and added wax to the frames to help them to grow, because sometimes they don't like building out these foundations without any wax in them. And I did that, coated them, and they still don't like it. All right, so let's pull a couple of these frames out. See what we got in here. What I typically do is pull the outside frame out first, just break it loose, and after you pull that out, then you're able to slide all the other ones over and really get to work. So that was the outside frame. We're going to open this Up just a little more. And I'm going to move the camera so you can see what I'm doing. So now that we're getting into these darker frames, these are the originals. And you'll notice that there's a lot more activity on them. But they've built them out. So we're hopefully going to find our queen here on one of these. Hopefully you can see what we got going on here. Just notice how spotty that brood is. There's a lot of bees on there. Can't really tell. But it doesn't look like our queen is on this frame. So we're going to put this frame back in. I'm not seeing her on that one either. I always try to be gentle when I'm in here to the extent that I can. Makes the bees less grumpy. See how light this frame is. Got some honey there. A little bit of brood going on over here. They haven't really touched this. Compared to the other hive that we have that's doing phenomenal, this is abysmal. Look at that. This whole thing wide open. Queen is elusive today, so she could be upstairs, or she could be in one of these. So we're going to slide our frames down a little bit. See if she's over here. She's in here somewhere. Not doing a good job though, so we got to find her. Now the queen is marked, so it makes it very easy to find her. See if she's upstairs today. Oh, there's the queen. All right, we found her. There is our queen. Well, you can see her right there. Right there with the orange. Moving around. Okay. Okay. I have her. Okay, we're going to get rid of her. And I'm going to take her away so that they don't smell her. So there's a million ways that you could do this probably. In my case, I'm just going to pinch her. And that's it. So now that I've thoroughly disrupted them, what happens is they're finding out now that the queen's gone and that she's killed. And so they're going to go over the next few hours into an emergency mode, and they're going to immediately start putting royal jelly onto some of that fresh and new larva that was in the hive, and they're going to start being able to hatch new queens as well to replace her. So it feels so wrong to do that. But the thought process is, and from what I've seen from other beekeepers to be very successful, is that instead of having a weak queen going into winter and not performing, she hasn't grown this hive very much at all. She's done a very bad job. And unfortunately, going into winter, she's going to be very weak. So the best thing we could do would be to start fresh and get a new queen. So right now we are in mid to late July. So when I button this back up, we're not going to be touching it until about the beginning of September. And that's going to give them enough time for the queen to be born, to be mated, to lay eggs, and to hatch those as well. So we're going to button this back up. All right. So now that we're putting this second box on, we're just going to make sure everything's spaced out. You want to make sure that your frames are spaced appropriately so that there's enough room to allow the bees to walk alongside of them. All right, then we're all set. So we're going to put this back on. All right, guys, so there you have it. That's not something that most people would say to do, and it goes contrary to what most of us believe, and that killing the queen would somehow make the hive better. But it actually does. You see, as the queen ages and she gets slower, she doesn't lay as many eggs, she doesn't move around as fast, and there's a whole bunch of other reasons as to why she's not doing well. There comes a point where, for the health of the hive, we need to get rid of that queen so that they're able to have a fresh queen that's going to be able to take care of them and support the hive to grow to the extent that it's supposed to. So, and you'll see this hive here is quite a bit taller. I have more boxes on it, and that's been growing rapidly. The problem is the queen, and there's really not a difference between the two. So since we've buttoned this hive up, we're not going to touch it, like I mentioned earlier, until about a month and a half-ish from now. We want to allow them enough time to be able to hatch that new queen, to be able to let her mate and lay new eggs, and then to allow those eggs to hatch. And then we'll check back in here in about a month and a half, and I'll have another video to show if that was successful. And hopefully it is. So unfortunately, I wasn't expecting to get anything from this hive this year anyway. So it's one of those things where, you know, do what you have to do, and is it going to be worth it? And we're going to find out. All right, guys. Well, thanks for tagging along for my first video. This has been a lot of fun. We're going to check back in about a month and a half on that hive, see how it's doing, and see if our project worked or if it was a failure. But my name is Jacob with the Everyday Beekeeper, and I just wanted to make this channel as a first-year beekeeper, you can follow along and see that you can do it in 2026 with your own hive. This is just going to be an unfiltered take. You don't need anything special to do this. Everything that I have, I built myself this spring. So I'm going to be doing future videos on my hive, the apiary itself, the fencing, the stands that they're built on, the boxes, extracting, and many more things. So if you've been watching, I appreciate it, and stay tuned for further videos. If you have any questions, put them in the comments, and I'll read it, and I'll answer every one. Thanks for watching. See you next time.